Hey guys, I'm Mike. This is Devin from Show and Tech.
And welcome to another episode. We're finally, hopefully, back on normal schedule again after some
Yeah,
hectic life stuff going on.
absolutely.
And we got a couple interesting topics today. This is going to be kind of more of a just going over stuff.
Right,
You're going to go over some
exactly.
edge computing. I'm going to talk about the USB 4 spec. That should be really hitting computers and laptops. Like I think some have it now. So
Probably.
and a little bit of an update on the USB-C spec.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get into it today.
Sure. Why don't you kick us off?
All right. So I'm going to be going over what's called edge computing today. And edge computing is actually kind of a mixture between technology and like topology or geography. So basically, edge computing is defined as part of a distribution computing topology where information processing is located close to where people produce or consume that info. And so what this interacts with a lot is not only just solely desktop computers or like corporate sort of services. It actually has to do with the fact that now, being in the age we're in, and we have cell phones that connect, drones that connect, all of these things that connect, that takes a lot of bandwidth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what edge computing does is it gives a nice medium in between having to send all that information over the cloud bandwidth. And what it does is it sets up servers or distribution centers, if you would call it, kind of like with stores. Stores
Right.
have distribution centers that send that stuff out. Well, that's the same concept, but in technology.
Right.
So
I've actually got the perfect example for this.
Okay, go.
Netflix does this. So Netflix actually has. You may remember when they were trying to buy a lot of space and
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
AT&T or Verizon's server in their servers and stuff like that.
They
They put in
spent
their own
hundreds
Netflix
of
server.
millions of dollars.
Exactly. So basically, what that does, instead of trying to connect, to the main Netflix server or something like
Right.
across the country, Netflix has a bunch of edge nodes.
Yeah,
That you're connecting
what it
to
is.
that particular one, and those nodes will download. Basically, have each one of those nodes will have all the movies and stuff like that Netflix has the information to downloaded on each of those nodes. That way, you're connecting to a closer node and it's processing it closer to you. So like you said,
Right.
it's not trying to process it from a server in California, to 2 or 3 hops to get over here to Arkansas
Absolutely.
and, take up all that extra bandwidth coming across the country.
That's perfect. That is
Exactly.
actually the perfect example. You're
Yeah.
right. So thanks for throwing that in there. So that's exactly what it is. It's server nodes set up throughout high population areas. So that way you can connect to it and you don't have to worry about sending so much information over a long wave bandwidth. Okay, it's local, somewhat local. It's easy to connect to, and it's going to be a lot faster.
Right. And you're going to, with that closer connection, you're going to notice a less of a latency
Exactly.
issue as well.
Exactly. So you're streaming, you're even like on the corporate side, your information processing is a lot better. And this can be set up in a bunch of different ways. You can pay a company who sets up edge nodes, or if you're a larger corporation or you have your own business and you have the extra money, you can set up your own node to interact between your cloud service that you store your data in,
Right.
or host on site. So
Yeah.
so there's a few pros of this, which we've already kind of covered, but we're going to go into them real quick. So the first pro is cost saving. Okay, so when you start to get into bandwidth, especially when you're dealing with a business or corporate like Netflix, who deals in a lot of high bandwidth, if you don't have those nodes, and this is why they spent a lot of money on that, you pay a lot extra in bandwidth. So whenever you're the internet service provider that you're going through, they'll charge you a lot extra for the amount of bandwidth that you use
Right.
on the high scale level. So on corporate things like that or business. So if you have your own private nodes set up, you're basically working on a wide area network set up over the country. You're working off your own stuff. You just use the bandwidth to go between those.
Right.
So it's one packet of information sent. You're not constantly sending a bunch of information back and forth over the network provider bandwidth.
Right, exactly. And kind of a term that, it's not always specifically for that, but can be kind of into that, is an intranet as
Right,
well.
absolutely.
An intranet is kind of on the same concept. A lot of times it's kind of contained in its own area, but it can, like if you had like a college with multiple campuses, they would have, a central, node for their edge computing that is an intranet, not an internet.
Right, absolutely.
It's an interconnected network.
Right.
For that. So, yeah.
So, and another good example would be like, let's take, the cloud storage, right? Okay, so if you're a big corporation, you have multiple sites, let's say in New York City, okay? You have that intranet in place, so most everything is coming from that central node, and then say 2 to 3 times a day, all of that information is being backed up to the cloud only 3 times a day. So it cuts down on that bandwidth going outside of your own network.
Right, yeah. Definitely, it's also like a cost saving measure and stuff like that as well. Because if you've got all that, centralized, or just when say a big centralized, you got multiple nodes. when you're got all that flowing to those individual nodes, instead of trying to back up each individual thing, you're just backing up the nodes. You save a lot of energy, and again, like you're saying, a lot of that bandwidth, which in turn saves somebody else energy.
Absolutely.
So, just it's kind of like consolidating essentially to ease the burden over the overall network.
Exactly. So that's the first pro. Your second pro is lower latency / faster connection.
Right.
Which, like I said, we touched on that already. Basically, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to connect to a node, say we're here in Arkansas, say in Texas, is a lot easier to connect to than one in New York.
Right.
So we're going to get a lot lower latency. We're going to get better response. We're going to get better streaming services, whatever service you're using, if we have a node closer to us to connect to.
Right. And, kind of like that distance thing, if it was connecting to like a New York node, it would obviously have to hop probably another node or two.
Absolutely.
And you never know, you might have a really great connection on that New York node, but there might be one of those nodes in the middle there might be a slower connection in there.
Right.
So then your whole connection is then dependent on that one.
Exactly.
So like the Texas one, since that would be a lot closer for us, there's definitely a lot less hops in there.
Yep.
So there's less likely of a chance that there's probably a slower connection in there getting connected to. So
that's exactly
you potentially get your full bandwidth out of that.
It's it makes it easier to triangulate, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So now, kind of moving into the day and age we're in now, now that we have 5G being incorporated, around the United States and in other nations, 5G is starting to be incorporated into this to ease kind of the landline bandwidth stretch.
Mm-hmm.
It's also very good for the mobile applications, right? So since we have these drones and cell phones and mobile devices, laptops, tablets, all of this stuff now that's coming into the infrastructure, it gives it a way to connect other than through a landline.
Mm-hmm.
And 5G is already being incorporated in some of, if any of y'all are familiar with Teslas and things like that, into the artificial intelligence calculations that smart cars are using to now do driving.
And on a whole nother topic that we won't get into, but just to throw out there, like
not yet at least.
over the air updates and disabling features and stuff like that, connected over 5G. But anyway, like I said, another topic for another day.
So those are some of the pros. Now, of course, with everything, there's some cons. Well, what are some cons? Number one, it can create a lot more security issues. Okay, so once you have all of these things interacting with each other, they're interacting with the nodes that connect to a central node, you can create more security issues because you have more devices connected to it. It has to open itself up a little bit more.
Right. And, again, it's centralized, so someone could just target that one central spot.
Absolutely.
As well, so
yeah, that's what I got.
Cool. Yeah, and I think a lot of people think, that's something that's every single day, that happens behind the scenes,
Absolutely.
and nobody ever even thinks about it once or twice. There's just like was like, oh man, I'm hoping I'm connected to that Texas Netflix server instead of the Chicago one or something. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
There's very few people that think about that. I think about that stuff all the time. That's why, like, if one of the games I'm playing, like for instance, EFT, it will actually let you go in and select your select which servers you can connect to, and so that way you can get the best latency out of it.
Right.
So there's still very few people, even in that space, that think about that sort of
right.
thing.
And I think like a game's a good, talking point for that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times they'll give you like an option, East, like if it's on a NA server, North America server, or you want to connect to an East Coast server, a West Coast server,
Midwest,
or South American server. They usually at least kind of throw that out there. And most people will like, oh, well, I'm on the East Coast of the United States. It'd probably make more sense for me to connect to that server.
Right.
So I can praise some games that give you that option and actually throw that out there for you.
Absolutely.
Not all do, but some do, especially in kind of the MMO side. They've always been a lot better about that.
Very much so. And there's it actually is an infrastructure thing too, if we even wanted to go into that, because if you have multiple nodes, you might not get the best response out of it, but let's say a node goes down. Well, now you have these 3 other nodes that are relatively close to you. They may not be the closest, so you can connect to the one that gives you the best response off that until the other node is back up and running.
An interesting thing that might be another talking point for another video that I think maybe you should go into, because I think it'd be more your kind of topic. How they have, let's take like Elder Scrolls Online for one thing.
Right.
There's one server to connect to, but obviously they've got more than one server.
Absolutely.
So it's called a mega server. So you've got people connecting to all these servers, but they're all still loading into the game world no matter which server they're connected to.
Right.
Like you could be connected to this one, they could be connected to this one, but y'all still see each other in the world on the mega server because you're all still connected. So that might be a cool topic to dive into.
That is actually a cool topic. I might go over that later. So, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
But, and once again, that's an infrastructure thing, which this plays into.
Exactly.
So
cool. Great topic. So let's just kind of dive on into my side of it.
Okay. All right. Let's get this.
A lot of this stuff is going to use. Well, I take that back. Stuff like this wouldn't use really USB. It'd be more of
it's more.
It'd be more of a fiber. Topic, but still
fiber, 5G, mobile networking stuff.
But this is a USB is a connection for networks, and it's getting fast.
Oh, absolutely.
It's getting fast because we're the most common thing most people are saying right now obviously is USB 3.
Yep.
And they completely botched the naming on it, and I'm glad they're finally naming the new one USB 4 just to get away from it, because you had USB 3, then you had USB. I don't know. They changed the names twice, but it's like now it's USB 3.1, USB 3.2.
Yeah.
It was just like, ugh. And one of them is, 5 gigabit second, 10 gigabit second, 20 gigabit second.
They went with the classic numbering system for most technology.
Yeah, they pulled an Intel.
Yeah.
Just keep throwing stuff on there to make it more confusing.
3.0.1.
The next one is going to be called USB 4.
All right, cool.
And I'm hoping if they decide to change it, they go USB 5. They just keep it simple.
Right.
So, but some cool things about USB 4 is USB 4 is going to completely integrate Thunderbolt into it.
Really?
Yes. Now, Thunderbolt, which if you're an Apple or Mac person, you've probably heard of this stuff, heard it for a long time, because Apple always had, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt 2, Thunderbolt 3, on their MacBooks and stuff like that. And now, it's actually an Intel proprietary thing. Is what Thunderbolt is. It runs over the same USB connection, but it's wired up a little different, and there's different specs and quality control and stuff like that for Thunderbolt, which, like I said, Intel owns that, but Intel has released the specs to the USB form.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's going to be Thunderbolt 4 is going to be completely integrated into USB 4.
Nice. Excellent.
Now there will still be Thunderbolt 4, but from my understanding, if you have a Thunderbolt 4 drive, you should be able to plug it into a USB 4 port and still get the full functionality out of it.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think it won't be vice versa,
Right.
but it should go that one way because the USB will be a universal standard, which what USB means universal serial bus.
Right.
But one of the cool things about that means you're going to get 20 and 40 gigabit speeds out of USB 4. Yes.
That's good.
Yes. Because basically the Thunderbolt 4 specs and the USB 4 specs are going to be basically the same. I think Thunderbolt 4 is a little more stringent, which is why you're still going to see Thunderbolt 4 as a branding.
Right, absolutely.
But like I said, most of that stuff's also going to apply to USB 4, so that'll be awesome. So you're going to get power delivery, you're going to get display over it, and data transfer all over one cable. And that's what's so great about, my next little thing is the USB-C connector, because that's the connection that's pinned right to do all that at once.
Exactly.
Now, here's what's really cool. You're going to love this. So the current power delivery on a USB-C cable is 100 watts, right?
Right.
Right. Well, they've just updated the spec on the USB-C connector to up the power delivery to 240 watts.
Really?
Or 240 or 260, right in there. Ooh. So think about this. So you've got, let's say, those mini PCs or, even, a beefy gaming laptop. Obviously not one like this.
Yeah.
But they had those big old power bricks.
Yeah.
And they had, always had, either, one of those crappy barrel plugs or anything like that. You can now power something like that over USB-C.
That's insane, bro. That's literally...
Yeah. So
a game changer.
So what that's telling me is, you might still have one of those external bricks, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have that ugly power thing. And what's cool is, the way, devices like your phone, your laptop, stuff like that, they self-regulate the amount of power they pull.
Right, absolutely.
So if you had one, 250-watt charger that had a USB-C connector on it, you just use that to freaking charge everything you own.
Heck yeah, man.
Because, because your iPhone, it's only going to pull 25 watts anyway. So it doesn't matter how much your charger can put out because the phone's only going to pull what it can pull. So it doesn't matter how big your charger. People always kind of get that scared. If I put too much power into it, that's not how it works. The device is smart enough to know that, hey, I only need this much power. That's what the connectors do. They tell, hey, I can only have this much power. Send me this much power.
Right.
So, but yeah, could you imagine big, beefy 17-inch gaming laptop with 30 80s and crap in it, charged by a USB-C plug?
That's actually kind of insane, but it's kind of cool because just the amount of space that you would save, and we're always, we talked about that in a few other videos. We're always going to these smaller form factors, consume less space, but have more power. So it's easier to carry around. It takes less space. You can pull it out, but you can do everything you need to.
Right. So, I mean, here's another thing. Just think of it like this. Let's say you had a display, on your keyboard and monitor and stuff you monitor the display. I don't know why I said it twice. You get what I'm saying. All that's kind of sitting right here. You've got your computer, your laptop, or whatever over here. You got one USB-C cable coming straight to your monitor. Your monitor's getting the power from that one cable, the display information from that one same cable, and it's plugged in, and your monitor's going to have a hub, so you could have your little wireless dongles for your mouse and keyboard, all just plugged in your monitor right there. And if you needed to charge your stuff right there, you could just have you just plug another USB-C cable into your, just straight into your monitor right there, and just plug your stuff up and unplug it when you're done. It's one cable to roll them all.
One cable versus around 6.
Right. So, but I mean that's what's so cool about the new USB standard and the new connector and stuff, because we're going to get so much more.
Absolutely.
And USB 4 will still be completely backwards compatible.
Yeah.
You can still plug a USB 3 in it.
Just like 3 has and 2
has.
And
2, yeah. Right. You're just going to be limited to whatever you're connecting to its speeds at that point.
Right, exactly.
So, but I think since, the USB 4, since it's going to have the Thunderbolt built into it, that's going to be using that PCI Express bus as well.
Oh, yeah.
For that.
I mean, if they didn't take advantage of that, that'd be...
Right, and that's how you're going to get those, 20 and 40 gigabit speeds.
Exactly.
Which is insane.
Oh, God. Can't wait.
I mean, when you've got one, when you're plugging something in for one thing, you can take advantage of all those other things that you
Right.
connected to. So you can plug in, multiple monitors through like one dock. You have like a dock, plug it in.
Right.
If this was used before, I could plug in like 2 monitors, plug in an Ethernet cable for your internet, whatever else the crap you wanted to plug in, and it would all work over one connection. It's insane. It's great.
That's great, dude. Like, and even like just the amount of space you would save on per se.
I mean, look at this. I mean, there's not a whole lot of cables here, but what if this was all one cable?
Exactly. So like I've got so on my little setup over here, I've got 2 monitors running to it off 2 graphics cards. So that's 1 HDMI cable, 1 VGA cable, 2 power cables going into the wall. Of course, getting around that.
Just imagine if this was, had the new USB-C connector and port spec and stuff.
Right.
You had one cable coming from here to here.
Right.
And that was both your display and your power.
Yeah.
And you just had one other USB-C cable just daisy chained over to this.
To that one.
That
would be perfect, man.
This would look a lot better behind us then.
It would, absolutely. And, everybody, including myself, wants to go to less cords.
Right.
Like, less cords, the better. If we can go wireless and not have a lag issue, that's awesome. But that's where the problem always comes in, right? Especially with gamers like you and me and all the gamers out there. When you usually go wireless stuff, it tends to introduce a little bit of lag. And every little bit of lag you're experiencing compacted on top of each other can lead to a loss in reaction time.
Now we got wireless power down though.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going pretty good.
I've yet to actually charge my iPhone with a cord. I've had it this entire time, and I've only charged it wirelessly, just because it's that convenient. I go home and I've got a charger at my desk. I set it on my desk. Bam. I go to bed. Just bring it in there because it's my alarm. Good to go for another day. When I get home, pop it there because I'm gonna be sitting at my computer anyway.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, that was really cool, Devin. I really enjoyed that topic.
Yeah, I mean, 250 watts charging over a single USB-C cable.
With that.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it. I can't wait to see that.
Right. Because, I mean, even now, like, I don't have anything that obviously requires that.
No.
But, cause, like, I've got, other than, like I said, I use the wireless charging on that. Honestly, because I really don't want to deal with lightning cables.
Right.
Everything else I own has USB-C. So, but other than that one little thing, I've got one cable that I use for everything.
Awesome.
When I need to transfer something to the PC to some other device, just about everything I own is USB-C. My USB drives, my jump drives I've started, I've made sure that I can connect over USB-C now. And, like when I was using my Pixel, USB-C, this laptop, USB-C, all of it charged on one cable.
Right, and we talked about that in another video, too. If y'all want to check that out, we can put the link down bottom. But
you're going to make me find it and put a card up, ain't you?
Yes, I am. But, we had talked about that previously where, USB-C seemed like it was going to move forward and be the all-in-one alternative. And so, heck yeah, it looks like it's going to be.
Right, and I think it's definitely the way to go. Lightning tried it. Sorry, Lightning, you've had your time in the sun, but USB-C is here to take it over.
There it is.
So, but yeah, that's all I kind of had. Maybe a little on the shorter side today, but
that's okay.
Can't always put out big ones, and just small videos. Some every once in a while is kind of better too. So, but why? We kind of mentioned you were taking a vacation. How was your vacation last week?
Well, I lost 10 pounds in 1 week.
It
was absolutely insane. We went to Universal Orlando Studios, and the kids absolutely enjoyed it and absolutely hated it all at the same time, as kids do.
Yeah, liked the fun stuff, didn't like walking to the fun stuff.
Absolutely. Hated waiting in line. Sorry, you're going to have to learn patience.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was a great experience. We were lucky enough to catch a deal on it, and just spending an entire week kind of feeling pampered,
Right. Yeah, I remember one time going to Six Flags in Kentucky, and I had a blast. And yeah, there was a lot of waiting in line, but man, I rode so many different rides. It was so much fun.
FYI, I can say this: if you ever go to Universal Studios Orlando, and I'm sure it's the same for Disney and most other places, if they offer an express pass, get it. We did not. Unfortunately, we were trying to save some money, and that express pass would have literally saved us hours.
Right.
So get the express pass.
Yeah, because you always hear that term, time is money.
Oh yeah,
And spend the money to save that time.
yeah. Time would have saved my feet quite a bit.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just sign it off there for the day.
Well, I'm Mike. This is Devin, and once again, this is Show and Tech, and thanks for joining us today, guys.
Catch you next time.